morning. I am excited about this one. I know I say that a lot, don't I? I've got my gorgeous new coffee mug. Look how freaking cute. It comes with its own little spoon. Hello. I got this from Laura. Thank you, girl. I love getting these presents. You guys know this about me. I love getting my coffee cups and, well, you guys have given me lots of gifts, I'm not going to lie, and I love it. Makes me feel so loved. Gifts must be one of my love languages. Imagine that. A Gemini who loves to get gifts. That's weird. Another creme brulee latte. You guys know how I get on kicks with these. And I'm going to have to set this down. Got to talk with my hands. We are doing an archetype today. And it is a universal archetype, meaning that every single one of us has played here. We've all engaged with this one. And it is the archetype of the victim. Okay? So whenever the victim is brought up, it can kind of raise hackles. And honestly, it especially raises hackles in people who have the victim archetype in their major arcana. There is no shame in having the victim archetype in your major arcana. So let's just remove any of that out of the way, okay? This is not going to be a conversation of shaming, of blaming, of spiritual override. We are going to get to the core of things. But I do want to just put it out there that all of us have this somewhere, and we've all been there, okay? So the victim, victor. So kind of like if you go into the shadow and the light, let's call the shadow the victim and the light the victor, and we'll get into the light. But this is so common. I want you to think about movies or books or anything that you see in literature of any kind or entertainment. A lot of times, the protagonist of the story starts out as the victim. And part of this is because we can all relate to it, and part of it is because how we love a story of redemption. We love watching a victim become a victor. Don't we? Isn't there something that, because it inspires us, because it's like, well, if they can do that, if they started off as the underdog, as the scapegoat, right? And then they can end up being the victor, then so can I. So it's actually can be a very inspiring archetype when it's taken from the shadow into the light. So the victim archetype is based on a fear. The victim archetype is based on the fear that we will never have what we really want. That it's a story that what has happened to us up to this point in our life has blocked us from, sorry you guys, my hair's driving me nuts today. Okay, leave it alone. That what has happened to us in our life so far has blocked us from ever being able to have the life we truly want. I'm just going to pause for a minute because I want you to feel that. That's what that is. What has happened to us so far in our lives, the fear is that it's going to stop us from getting the life we really want. We feel in the victim, we feel like we are not empowered. The shadow of the victim is self-pity, but the self-pity is based on a belief that we do not have the power to overcome our circumstances. Okay? I want you to really feel into how much this is past-based. Because usually it is, there is a story here that if only XYZ had not happened before, then I would not be here. I would be somewhere different. If only I hadn't had kids, I would be making so much more money. I would have an amazing career. I would be a famous singer. If only I had had a more stable childhood, I could have gone to med school and been a doctor. You see? It's a story of I'm currently not in a good place because of something circumstantial outside of my control that happened. Now, I am not here to say whether that is true or not true. You don't even have to fight for that story with me at all. We're not talking about that. Because how could we really know? Right? Listen, there are real victims. Okay? That I'm not even arguing that at all. And there is something, let's stay in the shadow with this for a minute, because I want you in this space of love and a space of someone who acknowledges, I acknowledge 100% that I have spent quite a bit of time in this archetype. So this isn't me talking about this from a high and mighty place of victim shaming you. This is me saying us together as human beings in this human experience, in this human condition. Okay? Let's look at the piece of this shadow that is entitled. There's an entitlement that kind of starts to creep up that says, this should not have happened to me. I should be the different one. In a planet of 7.5 billion people, I should be the one who has never been at the effect of outside circumstances. Now, you're going to sit there and you're going to say, I don't think that. I don't think that way. But when you go underneath and underneath and underneath, there will be a sense of entitlement. That it should be different. That life should have made it easier for you. That things should be more on your side. That you should have had different parents, right? That you should have a different maybe body. That if only this, if only that. So part of the shadow of the victim is to feel special. Like, no, but my childhood was especially bad. But my health issues are especially heinous. Okay? This is not a contest. Every single one of us has experienced true victimhood, and every single one of us has experienced keeping ourselves unempowered. Do you see how this is a universal part of the human experience? So I'm not speaking to any one of you. I'm speaking to the shadow of this one. To the shadow, to that piece that really believes that they're not empowered and therefore keeps themselves in the victim, possibly years after this has happened. Years. So you had super shitty parents and now you're 60. Maybe your parents aren't even here anymore. So then what? So we've got to go to then what? Because to stay in the villain archetype in the shadow, or in the victim, to stay in the victim archetype in the shadow, we have to have a villain. And that villain has got to stay alive in our minds and in our hearts, even if they're not even on the planet anymore. Now, for real, many of us were treated poorly by people that should not have treated us poorly, right? We wanted parents who protected us. We wanted to be surrounded by people that loved us and that we were safe with. And many of us did not get that. There is an effect, and I get that. But at what point are we willing to say, I don't need a villain anymore? Whatever it was that happened then, I am going to turn this victim into a victor, this victimization into a victory. And this happens when we are no longer waiting for somebody or something outside of ourselves to do another thing, where all of it becomes what we bring to the table. So this is not about being at fault for what happened in the first place. This is about being accountable for what is happening now. Okay? This is not a story of if you did this to yourself, but this is a story of now moving forward. Can you let the villain almost be beside the point? Because they don't get victory over you. You are going to claim your life. This is how the victim becomes the victor, is by taking full accountability, not for what happened to them initially, but for their life now moving forward. There's something about drawing a line in the sand, a line of demarcation, and saying, I will be the victor here. And that doesn't mean that it ends in one day. That means, sometimes you'll feel that victim energy rise. You're like, I got to reach out. I'm going to reach out to somebody. I can feel the self-pity. I can feel myself wanting to blame someone for my lack of forward movement. Because that's where the victim gets really sabotaging, really icky, is not when we acknowledge I was 3 years old and I was innocent. I was a victim. It's when we can't move forward now. We're still blaming somebody. We're still waiting for that magical thing to happen where now we can move forward. And I am here to freaking testify today. And this is where I'm going to bring up some of my preacher girl. That was my nickname for a long time. I'm going to freaking testify today that we do have the power to move forward no matter what. We are so much more powerful than we are allowing ourselves to be. And we do not have to wait for one damn person to do one damn thing for us to get the life we want. That's right. You heard me. And I'm sticking by that. All of us as victims can become the victors. How did the villain in your life stop you? Truly, how are they stopping you right now from having the life you want? If you're being completely honest with yourself, who is it up to? Because if it's up to them, if we're waiting for those apologies, if we're waiting for that true repentance to come from them, we're going to be waiting for a long ass time. It's up to us. We have the power to do this. Okay? So going back to the core of that fear of survival, that fear of being okay, that fear of being safe, that fear of I'm never going to get what I want, that's what we confront. What is it? What is that piece of the Rumi poem? Our life is meant to confront everything that holds us captive. The beauty and the light of the victim is when we see that, and whatever we have to do, okay? Breath work, meditation, therapy, getting physically healthy, losing 100 pounds, moving, leaving our abusive relationships, moving into a house that actually works for us. Whatever we have to do to move from that victim, the shadow of the victim, into the light of the victim, which is the victor, which is the I am the one who says, I am in charge of my own life. And the second you do that, you can no longer be in the shadow of the victim. And there's a point of no return with this that I've experienced. The second I go into the victim now, I'm like, no, that's the victim. I can feel that energy so clearly. That doesn't work for me. I've already tried it this way and it did not work. So whatever your story is about what is stopping you from moving forward, confront that and don't wait anymore. Aren't you ready? Aren't you freaking ready to have the life that you want? Think about that for a second. There's no need to wait for 1 minute longer. They didn't win. You're the victor. Whoever hurt you, I am so sorry for your pain. I truly am. I'm sorry for your traumatic childhood. I'm sorry for my traumatic childhood. But that doesn't get to stop us anymore. We're more than that. We have resources. We got this. So I hope that you can feel this archetype. Wherever it is living in you, whether it runs your life in your major arcana or whether it's a little teeny piece of you still. So that's my final question for this one. I'm going to turn this into a little bit of a call to action at the end. I'm asking you to look at where are you still playing the victim And what can you do to take back that part of your life? Good stuff, good stuff. I love it. I love especially talking about the universal archetypes because they're so relevant for every single one of us. No more villains, guys. We don't need them. We just don't need them anymore. I love you. May your coffee be strong and your life be blessed. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please like and subscribe. It really helps out my channel. And if you would be interested in working with me further, you can check out DawniAngel.com. I would love to come speak to your group, come to your business to do a training, be on your podcast, my personal favorite, or even work with you one-on-one.